Let's take a journey around the NBA. 30 teams, 30 injury reports. Let's update it. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I'm here to show you my charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your best bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free, and we are available on all platforms. You should be a double banger. What does that mean? Someone said, Josh, I don't really think we need to listen to the show twice. I know, you don't. It's more about helping out the show, and you download and listen to the audio and let it play. Then you go to your computer or phone and you go to YouTube and you put the video on and you let that play and you can look at the graphics and all sort of stuff. You don't actually have to listen to it twice. You can. You don't have to. It's more about just letting the stuff play through to boost the visibility of the show. And speaking of shows that need visibility, Thursday, February 8th, Trade Deadline Show live, 1 p.m. Eastern, maybe earlier. Depends on how early I get up and depends on what's going on that day. Get over there, pre-bang, pre-like. I want 1,000 in there. I want 1,000 pre-bangs. Can you go and like that? It would be great. You'll see up the top here as I do the YouTube thing. Which corner? It's at this corner, yeah? Beep, beep. Right there. Hit that button and that'll take you straight to that show. We're doing injury report today. All 30 teams, remembering that teams do not give specific timelines all the time. So I am here to try and project. And to all of the losers and haters out there who say, well, Josh, you're not even a doctor. Why do you even need to project on someone's injury? Like, why don't you just tell us that they're injured? Because that doesn't work in fantasy. The people who complain, oh, how can you say that this might be a time frame from an injury when you don't even know? You're not even a doctor. Just wait. All you got to say is the guy's injured. That's cool. Then we'll wait 4 days for something to happen, and we can't adjust for fantasy. My job is projection. Projected stats, projected lineups, projected minutes, projected rotations, and I'm not projecting injuries, but I'm projecting timeframes of injuries when they occur based on numerous issues. My extensive healthcare and medical background, my extensive background of doing this job, plenty of databases that exist for this sort of stuff. And that is where we try and get this information from. I cannot be exact with it because teams don't even know. Teams get the wrong timelines all the time and they don't even tell us when they put it out there. So we try and give the best information that we can based on what information we know at the time. And as that adjusts, we do it, because in most leagues, you can't wait 4 days, 5 days for a semi-official timeline to be put out. Or you can't wait for information that gets chucked out that's incomplete, and then you wait for another official team release to explain what that initial release. Well, you can't. I've got to come in here, and my job is to interpret it and to project it and give ideas of what that might mean. So, if you got a problem with that, stiff shit. All right, and I know that it's probably like 2 people. It's not. There's definitely a few people who love to say, you're not even a fucking doctor, man. You said too here. Anyway, I woke up spicy. Let's talk Atlanta Hawks. Let's talk injuries. DeJounte Murray missed the last game with a hamstring issue. Now, you know my thoughts on hamstrings, that normally it should be 2 to 3 weeks. I did not see this man injure his hamstring. I'm going to suggest he didn't injure his hamstring in the traditional sense of having a hamstring strain in game. I'm going to say there was a little bit of soreness. I am listing him questionable still. Is it a fake injury because there's a trade coming and he's causing a million disruptions in the locker room? Some of that is true. I don't know I do know which part of it. I don't know the part whether it's a fake injury for a trade, but with him out, we saw Bogdanovic step into a larger role and put up good numbers, and I will still maintain that DeJounte Murray is my most likely player to be traded at this trade deadline, followed by D'Angelo Russell, although with the way that Russell's playing, maybe he doesn't move. I still think he will, but I think DeJounte is pretty clearly going to go. DeAndre Hunter, I don't know. Like, we had a non-surgical procedure on his knee, which apparently is going to take longer than Evan Mobley's surgical procedure on his knee. Not quite, but we're getting there. He is just not a good fantasy player in general, DeAndre Hunter, and they might tear it down and trade away a million guys. And I think I would need 3 starters to be gone on the Hawks before I get super excited about adding DeAndre Hunter. His absence just allows Saddiq Bey to put more minutes up and be useful. Saddiq Bey, also shout out to one of the most overrated players in the NBA. Mohamed Gay dealing with a back issue. We're looking at around the 10th of February for him. Bruno Fernando with a back problem. He missed the last game. He's probably questionable. And Vic Krejci with a shoulder injury. These are guys that... Can you believe that Bruno Fernando and Vic Krejci are on this roster? This roster, despite hiring Quinn Snyder and having the top-end talent and the breakout like Jalen Johnson, the back half of their roster is disgusting. It's so bad. Yet, there's a player that they picked 15th who's played 4 minutes all season. They won't give him a single minute. Because why would they? Because he just loves the G League. He's a big G League guy. Aspired to play in the G League, Kobe Buffkin. He will never play because, why would you when you've got Patty Mills and Vic Krejci and the Matthewses and Seth Lundys and all those guys? You would never want to get that guy out there. For the Boston Celtics, their injury report is really just for today and tomorrow. It's Monday, Tuesday. We've got Porzingis and Al Horford with his neck strain. Last season, it was back-to-back spasms. Now he's dealing with a my neck, my back sort of problem. They're both questionable, Porzingis and Horford, for Monday. They will sit one of those 2 games. I guarantee you that. Which one? I don't know. The Luke Cornett one is interesting because he pinged his hamstring last game. He left the game, didn't return. They've listed him doubtful for Monday. Again, that should be 2 weeks, but I don't know. So at the moment, he is officially doubtful. I'm going to come out and tell you that Cornett's not going to play this week, would be my guess. He probably won't play the back-to-back, almost definitely won't. And we'll see how they mismanage this hamstring injury. Just add it to the litany of mismanaged hamstring injuries. Josh, you're not even a doctor. The Brooklyn Nets, Dorian Finney-Smith is out with an ankle problem. We've got his return maybe next game. There hasn't been really any update onto the level of sprain or how serious that is going to be. You'll notice that there is one man who is not on this injury report, and that's because Ben Simmons is back today. You can absolutely grab Ben Simmons. No problem with adding him. I really don't have any long-term faith in him. I think his minutes are going to be limited straight away. It's always, with these sort of risky propositions, the higher up you are in the standings, the more leeway you have to deal with ins and outs and sitting back-to-backs and limited minutes and overall limited production. If you are scrounging for the playoffs, wasting a roster spot and wasting an ad on someone who might take 3 weeks to even get back to full speed, if he gets there without getting injured again, which has got to be the problem with his back considering how long this has been an issue, yeah, that's really tough to stomach. So, again, individual circumstances come down to what you do with Simmons here and his back problem, but he is returning and we are going to have all eyes on Brooklyn until we don't. Day'Ron Sharpe with a knee problem, maybe the end of this week. We haven't really had any updates on him apart from the initial situation was, so it's like, maybe he joins us on the trip to France. Remember that? Oh, no, actually, no, they did update us after that. They said it was going to be 2 weeks, but we haven't had, the 2 weeks is done. We haven't heard anything on Sharpe since then. And what the hell they do with Claxton, with Sharpe, and with Ben Simmons? Because Sharpe's minutes were pushing up. He was playing 17, 18 a night. But can he do that when Simmons is there? I don't know. Be very interesting. Derek Whitehead, really bad season for the Pimple. He had the 2 foot surgeries in college, and now he has a stress reaction in his leg. He had surgery on that leg. He's done for the season. That is one of the biased lows. That's one of the worst phrases I've ever said in my life. One of the lowest buys in Dynasty ever. I think he's got tremendous upside. The problem is he maybe had a 20%, 15% chance of hitting that upside in the past. Now I'd say he's got like a 2% chance of hitting it. It's still huge. A 6'6" wing who can score, shoot, rebound, defend, and pass is an unbelievable player. That is legitimately, in your best 99th% outcome, he is a top 20 fantasy player, and he's a multi-time All-Star, best case scenario. The chances of it happening are not there. But there are certain players that you look at in Dynasty or even in the draft that have no shot of getting to that number. Like Ben Shepherd, for example. Sorry to Benny, but he's got no hope of being that level of player. There's just none. Whitehead does, and the injuries are what you would call shitful, unfortunately. Today's episode is brought to you by Quiz. Okay, you can go and test your knowledge at Quiz, which is a quiz app. It's a quiz site. Because you guys have knowledge. I know you do because you're watching this show. Of course you got knowledge. And you can go test your NBA knowledge because the legends over at Quiz, which is spelled with 3 I's, is a next-generation trivia experience. It's the world's first platform where you can earn money playing knowledge games. And for Locked On fans, there is an NBA-specific quiz that they have created that you can go and check out. What question can we have? What is the name? Oh, they love it. What is the name of this mascot? Well, that's an easy one. What is the name of the Bucks mascot? That's Bango. I know that one. What is the name of the Hawks mascot? Harry the Hawk. Oh, okay. What is the name of the Pistons mascot? That's easy as well. That's Hooper. You guys will kill this quiz over at Quiz. Go to app.quiz.com and start playing today. NBA Quiz is the ultimate knowledge challenge for fans that live and breathe basketball. Go to app.quiz.com to test your knowledge and win cash today. That is quiz with 3 eyes, just like a three-pointer. Play now, showcase your skills, and take home cash prizes. App.quiz.com, where fans become champions. That is the absolute slowest start I've had to a 30-team injury report show ever, so let's bang it out. LaMelo Ball is listed questionable after sitting the second half of a back-to-back for Charlotte. This is my read on Charlotte. They do this because they are liars. He will play. I feel really confident about that. They did that last time. He should be listed probable. He should be in. He will play. I am very confident about this with that ankle soreness. I'm also very confident that he will sit the next back-to-back, and I'm very confident that he'll be listed questionable after the next back-to-back as well. But we'll find out, won't we? How wrong I am or how right I am. Mark Williams, his back issue. I could not tell you, so I've made up a date. I said after the All-Star break there, which is the 23rd of February. Whether that back responds at all, I would say there is more likelihood of Williams missing the entirety of the season than there is of him returning before the All-Star break. But because this is the most pitiful franchise in the NBA, they won't tell us that. Same as Gordon Hayward with his calf. When did he get injured? Like December. Yes, a calf injury is usually a 2 to 3 week. There's so many calf injuries in the NBA at the moment. But we've got no update on him. He's old. He's prone to soft tissue injuries. He's a slow healer. We're looking at the 4th of February as a completely made-up time frame. You have not needed to hold on to Gordon Hayward this whole time. His return does impact perhaps the value of others, but look, does he even play another game for Charlotte? I've got no idea. The interesting one here is Kyle Lowry, and I'll say interesting because it's not at all interesting, but it's marginally interesting to me, who's someone who deals with the behind-the-scenes minutiae of NBA injury reporting, is that Mitch Kupchak came out and said Kyle is not going to play for us until at least after the trade deadlines. We try and figure out what's going on. But then yesterday, on the injury report, he wasn't listed. So I'm not really sure if that means anything. I don't think it does, because what would they say? Like out, not with team, out personal? But what if he does like a Hulk Hogan, runs in, rips off the shirt, and there he is, slides into the starting 5. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's not listed, so I don't know what it means. And then Frank Ntilikina, who for some reason is on this team, he's questionable with a hip injury. Your Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine, the skater boy with an ankle problem. I've got him and Pat Williams missing the rest of this week. I think that Zach may not be playing until after the deadline. I also don't know that if he gets to the Pistons, I swear to God. So he might not play for the Bulls again. Williams is in a walking boot. Mr. 82-game legend last season, obviously made of adamantium, vibranium, can't be injured. That's what happens when you play 82 games the year before. You never get injured ever again, and that's how injuries work. So he's now missing another game. He'll miss the rest of this week with his foot in a walking boot, and we obviously can jack him.
Get that garbage out of here!
Deep League's Julian Phillips replacement. Shallow League's Odosumu. Torrey Craig's out until around the All-Star break with his plantar fascia issue as well. In Cleveland, Evan Mobley is officially listed questionable for today, but it does look like he's going to return. As for Darius Garland, his 4-week time frame passed 3 weeks ago. And people call him, I hate this, I hate calling an athlete soft. People will criticize me for my takes on injuries. Again, completely unfounded. Like some dickhead yesterday who said, oh man, you're just wishing Ben Simmons gets injured. You're such a clown. No, I'm actually with the person who defends athlete injuries probably more than anybody, to the detriment of me with other people attacking me based on that. But like to call Garland soft because Mobley returned, like what do you think Garland's doing? Do you think he's just like, I'm good, man. I'm just going to sit around. Oh, why didn't he work out? This is what the man couldn't eat for 4 weeks. His jaw was wired shut. He had to drink liquids through a straw. So I'm going to guess that he lost a significant amount of weight and muscle mass during that time because he wouldn't have had the requisite amount of protein and energy and bulk to be able to do what he needed to do. Yeah, it's frustrating we're not getting a proper update on Garland and that he's not back in 4 weeks. And that's why usually I'm always going to take whatever the time frame is and push further out. But it doesn't mean that he's soft because Mobley came back right at the very end, the early part of a time frame, and Garland stepped it up because having your jaw wired shut for weeks, it's not a good thing, is it? I don't think he would be able to get out there and play. And obviously there's something that hasn't healed properly. Obviously. Ty Jerome, Milk, we got an update on him. Ankle surgery, I reckon he's done. I reckon that season over for him. Would have been nice to have heard about this significant ankle problem after he missed, I think, game 2 of the season, and then we've heard nothing ever since. And Tristan Thompson is suspended until he's eligible to return on the 6th of March, and Damo Jones is in that backup role. For the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving will not miss a game with his thumb injury, and now he is slated to miss his 4th, I believe, and he'll be out for over a week with an injury that was costing him 0 games. Because players lie. I don't care what a single player says ever about an injury. I don't care. I just don't care. And I'll always report what they say, but I don't care. I don't care if they're telling me they're looking great and they're coming back early. I don't care if they tell me it's fine, I could have come back in. I don't care if they're not missing any times. They either are liars or they overextend their belief in their own bodies, which they rightfully should because they are finely tuned performance machines. They should have that level of confidence. But they are wrong every time, basically. So Kyrie, with his thumb issue that's costing him 0 games, is going to miss another one. He might miss one more after that. I don't know. And then Derek Jones with a wrist, Dante Exum with his knee, and Dwight Powell with his eye are all questionable. Obviously with Irving, if Irving being out means that Jones and Exum would get a boost, but I'm much more interested in Hardaway. And then it's a Green, Jones, Exum, menage a trois turn in terms of who gets those minutes. And with Dwight Powell out, it's more for Muxie Kleber and more for our man, Derek Lively. Denver has got a good injury report. Unless you're Julian Strouder, he remains out probably a couple more games, maybe end of this week, but is there even a guarantee he's in the rotation? Not really. And the Detroit Pistons, we don't have an update on this. Now, Cade Cunningham, obviously there was the back-to-back nonsense from him on the weekend. I don't need to talk about that any further. I expect that he's back, but their next game isn't until Wednesday, so it's a huge gap. And that's why I'm only listing Alf Stewart as questionable, because Stewart hurt his ankle on Sunday, and normally if they had a game Monday or Tuesday, I'd say, well, he's not going to play. Like, he's going to be out. But that is like a 3-day break before Stewart's able to return. So there is a possibility that he returns. Now, I don't know that he does. That's his 3rd lower body, like foot/ankle toe injury this season already, which is obviously not great. They're going nowhere very clearly. And he's shithouse, obviously very clearly. So that would mean that they would laughably play Kevin Knox in that role, even though they should play Asar Thompson. And I don't think you need to add Asar Thompson. I'm at this point with Asar Thompson, as much as I like him as a player, that I need to see Monty Williams play him 28 minutes before I believe that Monty Williams will play him 28 minutes, because there have been multiple opportunities for Asar Thompson to regularly get 28 minutes, and it has not happened. So I need to see it. Even though the path might seem clear, Stewart out, Thompson in. It'll be Knox. It'll be bloody Gallinari or someone who steps in there. Because Monty Williams doesn't have the creativity to be able to run a proper offensive scheme with Asar Thompson in there. If only I could be paid $74 million to do nothing like he does. The Golden State Warriors. There was a report about Chris Paul, and I just want to give a thought on it. It was brought up by someone on Basketball Monster, and the report was, they were talking about Chris Paul and his hand injury, and Chris said, yeah, the surgery went way longer than we expected. He had to have a plate put in with screws, and he's rejoined the team this week and be reevaluated in a week. And there were people that not misinterpreted, because I don't know exactly, but they interpreted that to think that when Chris Paul said the surgery went long, that meant, there was complications and his recovery is going to be longer. And that is not what I interpreted from that at all. What I interpreted was that the surgery just took longer than they expected, and there's no actual adjustment to a return date. He is still set to join the team at the 4-week mark, which is 4 to 5 weeks is a standard sort of hand surgery time frame, broken hand time frame, and then he'll be reevaluated. So nothing in there where they said the surgery went longer than expected and the plate was put in. That to me doesn't change really anything in terms of his return. We're looking at around the 12th of February, because I do think that when he comes back reevaluated, it might be another week or two after that, which is cool. And I don't even know if he needs to be rostered, to be honest. I think we do, but we'll see when he gets back. Gaz Payton dealing with a grade 2 hamstring, probably around the 8th of February, but he's going to play so little it doesn't matter. And then Moses Moody's been out for about 3 weeks with a calf injury. They've given us no update on that just yet. So I'm listing him questionable for their next game, but that does not guarantee that he plays. Tari next season, dealing with a leg injury. I don't think there's... Some of you will still be holding him. I don't know why, but there is no reason to be holding Tari Eason. Not only is he dealing with this leg stress fracture issue, which is a problem in the preseason, by the way. I think Tari Eason played 79 games last season. Yeah, sure. Durability legend. He had this problem in the preseason. He's missed so many games. He's had a few little moments here, but also the thing that's happened now is that Cam Whitmore has started to establish himself. And not to say that Whitmore is going to play over Eason, but it's just another player in there to sort of battle for those minutes. And Eason, with a recurring leg problem, he's not going to come in and go, all right, 27, let's go. So I don't think that even the upside for Eason, as much as we like him as a player, is necessarily going to develop when he comes back, even if he came back, it wouldn't develop immediately. It would take a little bit of time after that. So I just don't really see the purpose, unfortunately, for old mate Tari to be held onto at this stage in the game. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. January is almost over, so that is 1 month down in 2024 because I know calendars. You know me, Gregorian legend. So you know that we need to start looking at things. Have you had time off from work? Are you looking to get back in and change things in your life? Well, be really cautious about how aggressive you get with it because sometimes lofty expectations lead to things that you can't live up to, and that can lead to problems with your mental health. I know that sounds extreme, but if you just talk to someone through a therapy session, they can help set realistic goals which are achievable, and stacking and doubling up on those achievements is a great way to improve your productivity, improve your general life outlook, and improve your mental health. And that is where therapy can come in. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Therapy is not just you go in there and say, I'm sad, can you fix me? No, there are so many different ways that therapy, that's one of them. Like, sure, you can be depressed and you can have mental health disorders, but it also can be about productivity. It can be about like positive coaching. It's about a bunch of different things. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Or as British people would say, schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist or switch therapists at any time if you don't find the right match, and you do that free of charge. So celebrate the progress that you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I could not think of a more annoying Super Bowl combination than the 49ers and the Chiefs, but that's what we've got. So maybe you should be focusing your Super Bowl on getting the perfect couch setup, getting an absolutely brilliant array of snacks, and getting in and looking at all of these super bets that you can place. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end this season with a W, or 2, or 3. Even if you are a sad Detroit Lions fan, who I was going for, and that absolutely crushed me yesterday because, I want fans to have success, but now you maybe can get some W's at Super Bowl 58. You can have bets on players that will score a touchdown. Do you go with Debo? Do you go with McCaffrey? I think you do. How many points will be scored? Don't know, but that's what you can bet on. New customers join today. You get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, we are not even halfway through these injuries. Bloody hell. I know there's a few coming up with no injuries, so that's good. The Indiana injury mismanagements have Tyrese Halliburton questionable to return on Tuesday after that totally planned 4-game absence after he returned from a hamstring injury and played 35 minutes in the first game back. That's common sense. That's what you would do in that scenario. So he maybe is able to return. TJ McConnell missed the last game with personal reasons, and Miles Turner with back issues. Obviously, if Turner's out, we just go with sticks. But if Halliburton's out, any value of McConnell is completely cooked, and Nembhard's value drops. Now, I could see Nembhard cutting into Buddy Hield's minutes as a starter, but I don't care. He needs the volume, the assist volume, the scoring volume that Halliburton's absence would afford to him to be a 12-team league guy. So if you have Nembhard, sure, that's cool, whatever. I just don't think it's going to last. The Clippers. If it's a Zubats, we've got a return around the end of February for him, and at the moment, it's just a complete mess and nobody wins. Some days it's Tice, some days it's Plumlee, some days it's Westbrook. And in the end, I don't think you care. Honestly, and this is honestly, the best option there is Westbrook. And that's pretty disgusting to say. But that doesn't fit every team. It fits some fantasy teams, but he's the guy that can generate the most value in the lowest minutes and still has that ability to push to 27 on certain nights. He won't when Zubats is back. And he's definitely not a must, but that's the scenario. And then Moussa Diabate with a hand injury out until the 10th of February, and I'm pretty sure nobody cares about that. I refuse to list Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the injury report, but in saying that I refuse to list them, I've actually just fallen into the trap of big injury and told you that they're questionable yet again for the 75th time this season. Let's talk about the real injuries. Gabe Vincent with a knee injury and Cam Reddish with an ankle injury, maybe both for the All-Star break that they return there. I would guess that both of those guys aren't in the rotation. It will be one of them taking the final slot, and I would guess it's Vincent, who has been an absolute disaster as a free agent signing through no fault of his own. This, I think, is the first time for the season I could have used 2 pages on an injury report. I'm choosing not to because I'm not, because so many of them are just injuries that are long term. But the Grizzlies have put out one of the most embarrassing injury reports ever today. And this is why I think that all the stuff about Desmond Bane and him pushing to come back is bullshit, because they are clearly manipulating injuries. They are clearly taking things very, very cautious and rushing back your $200 million semi-franchise player on a injury that might be a 12-week injury in under 6 weeks would be one of the dumbest things I've seen a franchise ever do. That's why I don't think it'll happen. I'm listing Bane as maybe returning the 1st of March. Same with Marcus Smart. I honestly think it's more likely they don't play than they return before that, but we will find out. They've listed Vince Williams today as questionable. Luke Kennard's out for the second consecutive game. I thought for sure he would play. I thought they were resting one a back-to-back, but no, his knee soreness is just too much. They've also got John Concha as doubtful. People don't like my Lil Jon impression, so I'm putting it in the bin for the moment. Zaire Williams is doubtful. Brandon Clark is out. Ja Morant is out. Steven Adams is out. Derrick Rose is out. Jake LaRavia is out. So they have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 active players today. If Vince Williams plays. And by the way, you have to have 8 active players. So Vince might just not play. And they have 7 guys getting all the minutes. So huge for Aldama, who might actually leave halfway through because of knee soreness. Tillman has to play. Scott Pippen has to play. David Roddy, unbelievable. They might lose by 70 because David Roddy has to play 30 minutes. There's just so much nonsense going on. Like, I don't know what happens with that. Their next game is a Thursday, Friday, back-to-back for Kennard. So I'm going to guess he doesn't play both of those. That makes him really hard to hold. We're still holding Vince Williams, obviously, but I feel like it's almost going to be a game-by-game scenario here for the Grizzlies as to who's going to have value, because, like, ankle sprain for Concha, cool, that didn't happen. Kennard's knee, like, sure, but he's played like 1 game out of the last 4 now. What do we do with it? It's impossible. Impossible. This one's good, though, and I never thought I would see the day that there are no injuries on the Miami Heat. None. It's good for them. Something's going to crop up, I'm sure. And what we really just want to watch there is how the interplay goes between Highsmith, Martin, and Jaquez for that last role. The Milwaukee Bucks, also no injuries. I'm not listing Giannis as probable with an illness, although, again, I just told you about it, but it's not official. It's not real. Don't worry about it. We're good. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Mike Conley, and his rest/illness/hamstring. He has also played 1 game out of his last 4, and he missed on Saturday with the hamstring, and now he's questionable for Monday. That is absolutely terrifying, because they are a first-round exit if Mike Conley is hurt. If he is out, it is Alexander Walker, who is the stream. And then the other one they've got is Jalen Clark, who is probably start of March with an Achilles tear, and he will play 0 games this season for the team. The Pelicans, again, imagine seeing an injury report and go, well, the 2 teams who don't have injuries are the New Orleans Pelicans and the Miami Heat. Well, that's where we're at for now. The Knicks. We're waiting a while to get to this one, and it is Julius Randle. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more information about his injury. And we got a little bit on it from Woj and Shams. And again, the original injury was a dislocated shoulder, and my initial thing was this could be a season ender, but it could also just be a week or 2 weeks minimum. And Woj was like, the x-ray shows nothing. Of course, that's great. We don't want it to show anything, but it doesn't tell us anything about the injury. And we still don't have an official diagnosis, but Woj is tweeting out that the injury is going to be measured in weeks and not months. So to me, that's 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. All right, because if you go to 8 weeks, it's 2 months. If it's 6 weeks, you'd still call it weeks. So I guess let's say between 3 to 6 weeks is my guess here for Randall's injury. The very clear ad is Josh the Hitman Hart. The secondary guys are going to be Hart and DiVincenzo just must roster everywhere, right? And then I think the next bunch is going to be Quentin Grimes, who can take more shots, but they just have nobody big. There's no forwards. So maybe it is Precious Achiuwa who plays at power forward, but oh my God, they will lose so many games if he plays 30 minutes a night. So we'll see what happens there. But Hart, DiVincenzo, your clear ads, Grimes, Achiuwa, the level below. We've got him out until the 10th of March here, Randall, which is around that like 4 or 5 week zone. And we'll adjust it when we hear more, because they're being pretty like, what's the right word? They're pretty hidden, I guess, with the results. Mitchie Robinson may be back in April, and Evan Fournier is out today for personal reasons. Do you reckon he gets traded? I reckon he might. The Thunder. Has this team had a single injury all season? I mean, they've had a couple of little ones, but every time I do the injury report, I feel like there's no one there for them. And even the Magic, who had so many guys about 2 weeks ago, There's one guy. It's Gaz Harris with, guess what? A calf. For an old bastard who's dealing with soft tissue injuries their whole career. Shout out to Gordon Hayward. Harris is still out. Maybe he's back this week. I don't know. But when he comes back, I don't think he's going to play a huge amount considering how healthy they are at the moment. The Sixers are a pretty busy injury report. Joel Embiid is out today. Now, they had a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, and we know he hurt his knee last Thursday, and then he ducked Nikola Jokic. Again, my problem with that situation with the Nuggets and Embiid and Jokic was not that he missed the game, because it was very, very obvious to me that there was a huge chance he was going to miss when he hurt his knee twice on the Thursday before. My problem is, why didn't those dickheads list him as injured? That's the problem. That was very clear. Or list him as questionable. I have to try and project injury reports sometimes on Basketball Monster. I go, well, I'm just going to put him questionable. Well, it makes sense to put him questionable because he hurt his knee. I saw him do it. And then they don't list him, and you go, well, okay. Well, this doesn't make any sense. Like Paul George in his groin. Right? Not injured. Oh, sure, really. And then questionable the next day. So that's the problem, I think, stems from that. And like that is where I have a real problem with. Side note, I'm just fired up about the way that teams obfuscate and put unnecessary harm onto the players. Oh, they're big boys. That's what the money's for. Yeah, sure. But I don't care how much money you make. I do, because like, it'd be great to have that money. But hearing that shit all the time, like our mental health only has so much strength. And again, I'm not like being out here simping for guys with money. I also don't hate players who have money. Good for them. They deserve the money. But the problem, so many problems can be solved so easily. All you have to do is, like, Joel Embiid hurt his knee on Thursday. We literally saw him do it. He's doubtful to play Saturday. It's so easy. It's so obvious. Or he's questionable. We'll see how he warms up, which is exactly what they did. They just didn't put him on the injury report. So everyone goes, well, he wasn't on the injury report. He's just faking it. It is so frustrating that this problem could be mitigated so easily. Assholes. Anyway, Tyrese Maxey. Ankle, questionable. Toby Harris, illness, who's missed 2 in a row, questionable. We don't have updates on those guys yet. D'Anthony Melton, probably the end of the week with his back injury. He has not been worth holding, I don't think. Always, when I say that, if you've got open IL slots, you hold them. The question then becomes, do I need it for somebody else? And someone mentioned this about Evan Mobley, how again, side note, I think you enjoy sometimes the story, sometimes you don't. Get on with it, you bloody Aussie dickhead. About Evan Mobley. I was in my Yahoo League. I showed you the results of it yesterday and how we've been going. And I had Evan Mobley on that team. And it was an auction league and I drafted him. And I saw the 6 to 8 time frame and I said, well, that's probably 8 to 9. I had like 5 injuries on that squad. My ILs were all fill up and I was 10th out of 14 teams in that league. And I was like, I am cooked. All right, I am in real strife. I need to drop Evan Mobley. This is 2 months out, maybe more, and he'll be back maybe at the start of my playoffs, and he'll sit back-to-backs and be a limited minutes, and I am done. So I dropped him. And now that looks completely stupid because Evan Mobley is back well before fantasy playoffs. But I'm now 3rd in that league because I made that move because I needed to open up roster spots to get guys back in to my team, to get players through, use those spots. And I have. And I've just beaten everybody. Basically, since then, I've just won almost every matchup because I had to make that move. And if I hadn't have made that move, maybe I'm sitting 7th. And I'm not competing for the playoffs. And then if he returns for my playoffs, then what's the point? I'm not in them anyway. So yeah, as a complete vacuum move, dropping Evan Mobley was completely idiotic from me. I misread it and I made a mistake. But also, the situation I was in is I had to do it. Because I needed the space and I could not have competed and put myself into this position if I had held on to him. And that's where we talk about individual circumstances being so key. Rob Covington, knee problem again. I think he's in real trouble, this guy. He barely played last season, the injuries this season. He's just not the same guy. I think he might be in real strife. And then Ken Lofton, Snack Randolph is out today for personal reasons. Embiid is out today, by the way. So, yeah, if you've got Paul Reed, enjoy. The Phoenix Suns, we don't have the update yet on Yusuf Nurkic, who has the thumb issue. He missed yesterday's game. Obviously, we know that with him out, we can go with Andrew Eubanks in that spot. Bol, the foot just continues to be hurt now, maybe the end of this week, but no, we're not worrying about that too much. And Damian Lee hasn't played this season. Maybe he's back in April. For the Blazers, Shaedon Sharpe with a groin problem. We've got him returning probably towards the middle of next week, around the deadline, maybe end of next week. I don't know. I think he's probably worth having because I think things are going to clear out for him. But also remember that when they shut down guys last season, he was one of them. Like, they didn't say, you play through it. He played like 2 or 3 games. They did it like a staggered shutdown. And they gave him like 2 or 3 games or 4 games of being the guy. And they said, move over. It's just a Manea time. And so he's not immune from sitting down. Same as Simons isn't immune from sitting down. Same as Scoot's not going to be immune from sitting down. Moses Brown is out until middle of March. And now Malcolm Brogdon, shockingly on the back-to-back, has popped up with a knee contusion. Yeah. Why would you play 38-minute-year-old busted-ass Malcolm Brogdon on a back-to-back? Well, because you're dumb. The Sacramento Kings, Sasha Vezenkov. This team continues to really avoid a lot of injuries. They haven't been as clean as they were last season, but Sasha is on the injury report as questionable. Zach Collins' ankle. Did they bring him back too early? Who's to say? Me. He played 3 games after returning ahead of schedule, ahead of reevaluation time from his ankle injury. Now he's missed the last game with ankle soreness, and he's on the injury report again for ankle soreness. We do not need to roster Zach Collins. Someone asked me, man, do I burn my 3rd waiver priority for Zach Collins in a 12-team league? Like, no, you just let him sit there. We don't need him at all. At all. Raptors. Ron Barrett missed the last game with knee soreness. Emmanuel Quickley's missed 2 with a quad, and Jakob Poeltl's missed like a month with an ankle sprain. No information on that at all. I think they all could return in their next game, but I don't know. And obviously, with all those guys out, that gives that significant boost to guys like Jordan Nwora, who went bananas last game. Bruce Brown, who played 37 minutes. Dennis Schroeder was a 12-team league guy. But if they all play, then those guys don't matter to any real extent, especially like Nwora or even Schroeder. But some uncertainty around those guys, and then Poeltl's return would impact Young and Porter. Then Marcus Noel picked his hammy in the G League, and he's out for a couple of weeks. The Jazz, no injuries. Good. They've been pretty clean all season as well, apart from an early season injury to Larry Markkinen. And the Wizards are clean apart from Isaiah Livers, who's dealing with a hip injury, and I don't even know that he's going to be a part of the rotation when he is healthy. So, somehow, despite taking forever to start this show off and going real slow on a lot of injuries early on, it did ease up towards as we got towards the back end of the alphabet, and we're done. So, hit the subscribe button. You know how to do that, but if you don't, I'll put up a handy little graphic. You just go and click subscribe. You ring the bell. You give it a thumbs up. You leave your comments. You double bang. And you go pre-like the trade deadline show. Guys, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.